This is my original oratory, Periods. For 125 years, since the black and white pages of L. Frank Baum's book, to Victor Fleming's Technicolor movie, to the smash hit of a Broadway musical and the recent release of the movie Wicked, the Wizard of Oz continues to stand the test of time. Dorothy finds a home in our hearts as we learn that the Scarecrow is not brainless, the Tin Man is not heartless, and the Cowardly Lion is not a coward. But what about the Wicked Witch of the West? Is she really wicked, or is she just misunderstood? When we look at it, she would kill for the perfect pair of shoes. Wouldn't we all? She sets the Scarecrow on fire. We've all been burnt by our friends before. And she has a complete meltdown when she gets a little bit of water spilt on her. If you ask me, Frank just caught her at the wrong time of the month. We're not in Kansas anymore. Today we're talking about periods. But not Aunt Flo or Auntie M. Today we're talking about punctuation, the thing that stops misunderstanding, brings order to chaos, and keeps our sentences from spinning out of control like a tornado. So let's put on our ruby red slippers and travel down the yellow brick road, where we will first meet the Scarecrow and learn the brains of punctuation, then the Tin Man and learn the heart of punctuation, and finally meet the Lion and learn how to have the courage to use punctuation. So when we finally meet the Wizard, he can tell us that the power to punctuate perfectly has been with us all along. Period. Just as the Scarecrow points Dorothy in the right direction, punctuation guides us along the path of understanding. Periods tell us when to stop, commas tell us when to pause, and colons encourage us to continue. But where did they come from? Before the written word existed, stories traveled by word of mouth. With only memory as their guide, these stories were shaped and reshaped, often changing with each retelling. It wasn't until the birth of writing and the punctuation that followed that these stories could be preserved for future generations. Keith Houston, author of Shady Characters, a book about the history of punctuation, wrote an article for the BBC where he explained the following. Punctuation began in Alexandria with a 3rd century BCE librarian named Aristophanes. He noticed that Greek texts were constantly being misunderstood. Every reader interpreted each text differently as there were no spaces, no change in cases, and no punctuation. To facilitate universal understanding, he created a series of dots, one for the top of the line, another for the middle, and a final for the bottom, all indicating a different length of pause. His take influenced the spaces and punctuation we use today. He saw that there was a problem, so he created a solution. He saw that there was misunderstanding, so he facilitated understanding. But here's the thing. People today, teenagers especially, are writing like the Greeks did in the beginning. No spaces, no change in cases, and no punctuation. And with a decrease in punctuation, there's an increase in misunderstanding. And I need y'all to realize, I am 17 years old. In my world, I am consumed with writing. I write essays for school, I write emails to teachers, I write text messages to friends, I write comments on social media. I wrote this speech and rewrote it and revised it 14 times this season. I am writing all the time, and I'm sure you are too. When it comes to the lack or misuse of punctuation, I see that a change needs to be made. And original oratory, at its core, is to advocate for change. I know that this change can be made, and I know that we are the ones that will make this change. Because if Aristophanes' solution worked so well, why are we regressing? He paved a yellow brick road for readers, guiding them to understanding. So let's get back on track and continue to follow it. Through the woods, we meet a rusty old Tin Man searching for a heart. When it comes to punctuation, aren't we all a bit like the Tin Man, in need of a little bit of oil to stop the rust in our writing? Allow me to freshen us up. The heart of punctuation beats in how we use it. As writers, we have the power to choose where we place commas and periods, or whether to use them at all. The best example of this is the Oxford comma, that final comma in a list of 3 or more placed before the and or the or. For example, lions, comma, tigers, Oxford comma, and bears. The Oxford comma is very polarizing, meaning it can be a good witch or a bad witch, depending on whom you ask. Glinda is like the Oxford comma because she brings clarity and order to what might otherwise be chaotic and confusing. The Wicked Witch of the West is like the Oxford comma because when she is present, and sometimes when she isn't, there's confusion and misunderstanding, much like the unexpected mood swings that come that time of the month. I myself am a fantasy, sci-fi, and fiction writer. I've written, illustrated, and self-published 6 books since the age of 11. Being in the creative writing field, I see the Oxford comma as a good witch. It separates my ideas, comma, adds clarity, Oxford comma, and enhances the flow of my writing, period. My friend Cassie, however, is a writer for the City Journal. She only has so much room for her words and punctuation, so often in her field, the Oxford comma is omitted. But the heart of punctuation is much more than the Oxford comma. In fact, the regular comma is just as important. Lynn Truss's New York Times bestselling book is titled Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. Depending on how this title is punctuated depends on how you understand it, because with commas after each word, it alludes to the joke that a panda walks into a bar, eats a hamburger, shoots another panda, and then leaves. But without commas after each word, it speaks of this panda's diet. Eats, shoots, and leaves. Your use or lack of punctuation dictates your reader's understanding, but the heart of punctuation comes down to this. Whether you choose a period, exclamation mark, or question mark to end your sentence, it's all about the message you want to convey. Each mark shapes the tone, direction, and impact of your words, guiding your reader through your thoughts, just like a map of the yellow brick road. But it's not enough to know about punctuation, we must have the courage to use it. Punctuation, as we learned with the Scarecrow, facilitates understanding. So when people today write like the Greeks, they're causing misunderstanding. Now, the importance of punctuation isn't as noticeable until it's missing or incorrect, but when it is, you can tell. I mean, how many times has an email or text message you've sent caused misunderstanding in your life? I get it, we often sacrifice traditional punctuation for speed and simplicity. Emojis and abbreviations are common ways to do this, but in formal writing, punctuation is still important. Students, there is so much paperwork taking us to our next steps in life. College and job applications, and emails we'll send requesting the perfect letter of recommendation. When you write these things, I want you to think of me and the secret I'm about to tell you. You can be a horse of a different color. You can stand out from the crowd by using correct punctuation. We've all worked so hard. I don't want us to make it to the gates of Oz just to be told the wizard isn't in. I know that we can all succeed, and I know that this success is possible through correct punctuation. But students, we're not the only ones that can make this change. Everyone can make this change, and we can start now, right now. Judges, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you've literally had the ruby slippers with you all along. You are literally writing feedback as I speak. This is the perfect opportunity for you to take my challenge and punctuate correctly. But don't just do it because some girl who's Team Oxford comma told you to. Do it because I am a speech kid, and so is every single other person in this room. We spend countless hours preparing our speeches for you, and when we get our feedback, we have made it to the Emerald City. Your words, like Oz, are great and powerful. So when we get feedback riddled with spelling errors, lacking capitalization, poor or absent punctuation, or when it is so vague that it doesn't make any sense, it's not just confusing, it's disheartening. It's like a house has been dropped on us. Your use or lack of punctuation dictates your reader's understanding, and with a decrease in punctuation, there's an increase in misunderstanding. Punctuation must and can be used everywhere, but it must go outside feedback within the NSDA. I challenge you to use it in students to your emails to your teachers, or presentations for work, even your family newsletter. Punctuation can and must be used everywhere, and we must start now. Let us all have the courage to click our heels, take what's in our heart, and use what's in our brains to make our words count. And return home by saying, there's no place like home, comma. There's no place like home, comma. There's no place like home,